This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you don't have to.
My name is Michelle St. Clair.
And I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever. A high school prom faces a deadly threat, a flesh-eating virus that spreads via a popular brand of bottled water. Let's watch.
Michelle, I can't believe that I spent 26 years of my life not on antidepressants.
Okay, wait, hang on. Because I think it's good that some of those years weren't, like, I don't think as you were born, the doctor should, here's a Xanax, hello, I'm the doctor.
I think that technology should be at a point where they can analyze my brain and be like, oh, look, this woman suffers from chronic anxiety. She frets too much and worries too much. Like, we know she will. I can see this in the map of the brain that we have acquired in this hologram technology that we now use in our floating hospitals. And I'm going to prescribe her some SSRIs for the rest of her life so she can grow up happy and normal and not have to suffer through years of not understanding why her brain works in certain processes and spirals that lead her to suffer from extra mental illnesses just on top of fundamental anxiety.
Yes, but have you considered all baby a little anxious? That's why they cry so much.
Baby do be anxious.
Baby do be anxious. But I'm glad that you at least are at a point where you have antidepressants now. I don't want to distract from that with my baby anxious talk.
We could go down the tangent of baby anxious, but
all babies are anxious.
We're being
That's my
very
TED talk.
serious
I'll release
today.
it separately on the future Patreon.
No, this is a very serious conversation about my mental health and me and Abby and me and me and me and me and my mental health and me.
I the baby.
Are you anxious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because baby be anxious sometimes, and that is okay. That is okay.
No, I'm over it. No, I hate it.
No, but it's done. No, I literally. So I started therapy last year because my mental health really plummeted, and it's been good. It has been good, but it's also like a slow process for me because every time I'm on my way to therapy, I'm like, well, what the fuck am I meant to talk about for an hour? Like, I don't even know. And then I sit there and I rant at her for like an hour about everything on my mind, and I walk away like feeling like that wasn't enough time. Yeah. I had like 3 sessions with her, and she went, I think you should start antidepressants. And I was just like blown away. I was like, number one, I'm not depressed. And she was like, that doesn't matter. That's not the point.
Also, you described a very common and understandable thing of going to your therapist, finding you had too much to talk about, and then going, do I need this?
Yeah, I'm like, every time I walk away and I have a revelation, it helps me work through something. And every time on the way there, I'm like, what will I get out of it this time? Probably nothing. But every time I walk away, kind of in tears, but in like a good way, because I realized something. Like second session, we just talked about my childhood and how I used to hide the fact that I was crying. And then I got home really upset and Claude was like, what's the matter? And I had this impulse to hide that I was crying. And I was like, ugh! That was a lot. Anyway, It's so good. I feel like the first time I popped a little SSRI, I'm on sertraline. It's so dumb. It's like I thought that it would be like this gradual buildup and I would only notice, like I would only feel different over time. But from the moment I took it, basically within 20 minutes, I just felt a noticeable change. Like my brain was wired differently. Can't even explain it. Like,
no, I know what you mean. When I started my antidepressants, estrogen, I had the same sort of immediacy. It felt great.
I remember just sitting on the couch, and don't get me wrong, first week I spent like zoinked out of my fucking mind. Like I felt like this like absolutely like lifeless vessel. Oh,
what the fuck?
And like I went to
this is bad radio.
I went to Claude's like family Christmas dinner, having just popped a fucking sertraline, and I swear to God, I looked at my pupils before I left, and they were huge. I was like, I look fucking high, and I felt high. Like I felt like I was on amphetamines. And I spent the whole dinner disassociating, and his mum was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I feel really fucking high. And I just started antidepressants, and she was like, oh, hun. So that was nice. But it's such a good shift. Like I've been on them for 3 to 4 weeks at this point, and it's just been better than ever. Like probably better than ever. I feel like my anxiety is still there, but it's not like this pressing thing in my mind all the time. Like I felt like I'd just wake up and all I'd think about is catastrophe. Like all I would do is catastrophize my day. I'd catastrophize my relationship. I'd catastrophize just my life in general. Like I'd wake up with this feeling of dread of, oh my God, everything's going to go wrong today and forever and the rest of my life. And now I wake up and I'm like, cool, I'm awake.
This is a weird month to begin to have that feeling.
I know. Just as my mental health is climbing up, the rest of the world is just exploding.
I mean, hey, maybe, can you recommend me your therapist and your doctor, pretty please? I would love to feel like it's not collapsing. That'd be great.
She also made me realize, and so is this podcast, that I talk really fast.
Yeah.
I talk really fucking fast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, both of us do, but you talk very, very quite quickly. You talk very real quick. Ooh, much speak.
Much speak. But then when I went on my antidepressants, like the first time I saw her afterwards, she was like, you're talking slower than I've ever heard you talk. And I still felt like I was talking really fast. So I was like, how fucking fast do I speak?
And then you, being Abby, went, is that a threat?
Oh, I literally went, is that bad? Like I started freaking out in front of her. And she was like, no.
I was doing
like
a bit.
It really threw me. And she was like, let's fucking up that dosage.
But speaking of unexpected threats, this week we watched Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever.
Boy, did we. I just watched it. It's really fresh in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'll say one thing.
I'm excited for you to say many things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll just keep it to one. And then I'll
please don't.
Tap out.
Please expand.
You keep going, but I've actually got an appointment.
It's going to be a solo Michelle episode.
Yeah, I've got to go in 5, so you just take over. I found this film semi-enjoyable in that when I would miss a bit, I made sure to go back and make sure that I watched it because I didn't want to miss anything. So that was what confused me about this film. Like, it was tongue-in-cheek and kind of fun. And in the last moments, like in the final like action sequences, I was like going back to make sure I didn't miss something and that like I wanted to see what happened to all the characters. So just straight off, like I kind of enjoyed myself. I kind of liked it.
No, I get what you mean. I finished it today. I watched most of it yesterday, but I watched Cabin Fever 1 immediately before it because I was like, well, I should know what happens in the first one. Want to get out of the way. I really do not care for Cabin Fever 1. It sucks.
No.
I don't get why Eli Roth was so praised for it. It's badly paced. It really likes dropping slurs. It gets a couple of good jokes in, and then it's so flat for the rest of it.
I just remember, look, I've seen Cabin Fever 1 maybe 2 times, like ages ago. I think as a kid I rented it, and then I think we watched it together, and we were both like baffled by it. And I was like, yeah, I don't remember this film. I don't fucking get it. Did we watch it together?
You and
am I making that up?
No, I don't think we watched it together. Oh. We watched the pancake scene, which I mistakenly thought was from too. But
maybe that's what we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fucking first film, man. I just remember I watched it probably twice, and because I watched it the second time being like, oh, it's a horror comedy. Maybe I misunderstood it as a kid. Maybe it was good. I went back and watched it again, and I was like, this is fucking trash. Like, it's not even funny. Like, you can't label a horror comedy like a horror comedy without the element of comedy. And it's just not funny enough to be a horror comedy. If anything, it's just like, you're not laughing at the jokes because you're not sure you're meant to laugh at it. So the tone is off. So you're like, is this just a bad horror or is it a horror comedy? And it doesn't hit the mark at any point. Whereas in this film, I'm like, they're at a prom, like there's kids involved. Like they kind of set the tone straight off the bat. I found some bits genuinely funny.
I can't tell you the absolute relief after getting through the slog of Cabin Fever 1 when this movie opens, the guy gets obliterated by the bus and then it freeze frames and then in spooky blood writing says Cabin Fever 2. And I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be great. This is going to be real. I was dreading watching this.
Yeah, and like the cop that arrives, because the film starts with the remains of one of the guys from the first Cabin Fever getting hit by a bus, and the cop arrives to check it out. There's blood all over the school bus, and the cop's just like saying it's a moose and that the bus driver doesn't need to worry. But he's like, he kind of talks like this, man, and like, it's all cool, and I was like deep and pussy, and like this film is full of crass, bad jokes, and like, but it's so tongue in cheek. You know that it's just like the screenwriters and directors fucking around with like the way that people perceive comedy these days. Like I didn't think it was like, I never felt offended by this film because it was too tongue-in-cheek for me to feel offended.
Yeah, I think making it more comedy was a good choice overall. I think there's still some bits that I don't like in general. I think there's still fundamental flaws with the premise where I'm like, yeah, I get why this has a low score. But, you know, Given the kind of like horror slasher things we've seen on this list, it could have been way worse. All of the fucking was consensual and I had a good time.
Yeah. And like there was like really crass misogynistic jokes, but like not at really at the expense of women, more at the expense of the men, being like, look how fucking creepy these dudes are, rather than being like, look how fucking hot this woman is. It's more like these guys are gross.
The first one has like production stories of Eli Roth insisting the women show themselves more naked even though they don't want to. Like, fuck Eli Roth, man. Get him out of here.
Eli Roth is just bad vibes always. Like I've bad energy with Eli Roth. Like I've never enjoyed anything he's really done. I've never enjoyed him as an actor. I also get him always confused in my mind with Zachary Quinto, but I hear that Zachary Quinto is actually like a sweet baby angel and Eli Roth is just a piece of shit.
They're on the same alignment chart. Zachary Quinto is neutral good. Eli Roth is like neutral evil, right? They're on that axis.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe chaotic evil even, because I feel like this script is just... I feel like he was kind of like, let's see how much I can get away with. Like
there is a lot of that energy to that. I'll get into the overview so that we can talk about the movie in more detail, because there is actually like a lot that we can talk about in a really fun way.
Yeah, baby.
First, some key details. This was released in 2009. Cabin Fever 1 was 2002, so it was quite a while before they made a sequel. It was directed by Ty West, who also did The Roost and The House of the Devil, and he mostly does like episodes of horror TV nowadays. And it's starring Noah Sagan, who in particular, I was looking him up because I was like, why does he look familiar? Does a lot of stuff with Ryan Johnson. The one that we would most recognize is he's Trooper Wagner in Knives Out, the non-Lakeith Stanfield cop. You know how there's the two? He's that guy.
He's got such a strange face, like not a typical Hollywood actor's face. Like he's very, I feel like his face is so, I feel like he's got very distinctive features. I'm almost surprised I couldn't recognize him from anything.
Yeah, on the character creator, his sliders are in the middle. You know, he's
they're all in the middle.
He just looks like a guy.
And they're all very long. If anything, they're elongated a little bit.
I think he looks better like a decade after this than this. Like he looks great now.
I love people that age well. I hope that I'll be one of those people. I hope my glow up is like in my 40s. Then I have so much to look forward to.
I think you'll look great in your 40s. But it's also got Alexi Wasser and Giuseppe Andrews plays the cop. And I love that his name is Giuseppe.
Giuseppe, has he like been in anything else? Because I've never seen him in anything.
He was one of the only other cast members who had the blue highlighted, hyperlink on his.
Oh, it's that kind of film.
It's that kind of film.
Fuck.
Yeah, oh yeah.
God damn. So these are like genuinely full of high schoolers that never did anything else.
Let me put it this way. He has been in and acted in a lot. He's acted in and directed a lot of stuff. And almost everything he's ever directed doesn't have a hyperlink, right? Like
some people would call that art house.
Some people would. But yes, it is that kind of film where everyone is an actual teenager with no experience, except for Noah Sagan, who is very clearly 30. The budget,
for sure.
The budget was really hard to find. Budget was $5 million, as far as one source said, and the box office was $706,000 because it had no theatrical release. It was direct to DVD after 2 festivals.
That's why did they expect anything else from direct to DVD release? Like you can't make money that way. I think
some DVDs sell like hotcakes. Who knows? But they were trying to do direct to DVD in 2009, right? Like this was the bells are ringing, the death doors are knocking.
Direct to DVD is such an odd concept when you think about it, because I've only ever bought DVDs of things I have watched. Straight to stream. I don't commit.
Straight to stream. Straight to stream is the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same energy. You go to a place and browse and then you pick up something.
But straight to stream is slightly different, because when you're going to a DVD shop, you're basically sinking like $14 into a new DVD, but $14 buys you a 4-month subscription of a streaming service.
Rentals. You go to Video Easy and then you browse and you find something that was direct to DVD. You spend $3 and you rent it.
That's
then,
so much less money, though, than buying a full... Because the thing is, I think the commitment is you're fucking paying $15 to $25 for a new DVD or Blu-ray of something that you haven't seen before, and it's going to sit in your house forever. If you're renting something, when it exists digitally, it doesn't feel like as much of a commitment, and it's like $3 to rent it.
I both don't disagree that they probably weren't raking it in, but some DVD home sales are like millions of dollars, right? So like...
But that's like a highly anticipated thing, not fucking Cabin Fever 2.
All right, look, there's a reason they're out of business,
Cabin
okay?
You don't need to defend this movie.
I'm not.
Seems like you fucking love this movie. Well, my question is, did Eli Roth direct it?
No, Ty West did. A man who is way more of a skinny white Jewish man than I expected from the name Ty West.
Yeah, Ty West sounds like a hunky, like Eurasian man. That's my
I had assumed he was kind of a cool, like tortoiseshell glasses black guy, like Barry Jenkins. You know,
nice. Our visions should fight each other, and we'll see who wins. It's definitely my hunky guy because yours is a dweeb.
We should get this Eurasian guy and this black guy to fight. So I don't think we should do that.
But we're women. So
that's true.
That's true.
We can get away with it.
Yeah, we can do anything.
Here's the overview proper. Following on from the first installment, water from a lake infected with a highly contagious form of necrotizing fasciitis is transported to a nearby high school in the form of bottled water. There, the students are getting ready for prom night, and in particular, loser John is trying to get girl of his dreams, Cassie, to go with him. Meanwhile, Winston, a local cop from the first film, puts the pieces together and realizes the water is infected and attempts to stop the company selling it, but ends up on the run from the military, here to stop the spread. At the high school, the infection rapidly begins to spread, turning prom into a bloodbath. John and Cassie attempt to flee, eventually making it out only for the army to catch up with John. Cassie comes across Winston, who takes her to safety, but the early signs of infection begin to show on her back. That was I wanted it to be a tight summary because that's pretty much it. You know, the structure of the movie is mostly, we the audience know that a scene is going to happen. And then we just sort of watch it all happen.
Yeah, but that's a good overview.
This was a thought I had while watching Cabin Fever 1, but it extended into this. If Human Centipede was defined on this podcast by me watching it in my car while eating cold fettuccine, watching this was defined watching it while feeling really sick in my stomach and also editing videos about baby poo at the same time. So, it was a really also like sweaty and hot. It was a really gross experience. And then I'm watching all these people going like, I'm dying and I'm sick.
What are you editing at the moment? Why are you editing baby
It's content for women who have just had babies. Like, it's good content, but hey, anyone, don't watch it while you watch Cabin Fever 1 or 2.
I feel like the worst thing, there's two terrible things when you're feeling sick to your tummy, which is one, having to sweat it out all day, and two, having to look at images of feces.
And 3, watching people go, help me, as they're like bleeding and fleshy. And
it's like a bad fever dream.
It was quite literally a bad fever dream. It was a sweaty, disgusting night, everyone.
That's awful.
Guys, the things that we do for you, the listener.
Yeah, and Michelle, if it makes you feel any better, I have my period and I woke up this morning and felt a bit sick in my tummy and ran to the bathroom, and there was just a puddle of blood everywhere in my underwear, and it went all over my legs. It was a real like massacre going on down there.
There are a lot of instances in both of those movies where people look down at between their legs and there's a bunch of blood emerging. So I can imagine that was a stressful thing.
it was definitely an ominous sign for the day. It was foreboding. That's what it was. There was that scene in the movie where Cassie finds this woman who's like, she's saying, my baby, and she gets up and all this blood drips out from beneath, like between her legs. That was me this morning. That's where I was. So think of that woman and then think of me and send me your thoughts and prayers.
I don't want to think of... That was one of the more upsetting parts. Like, a lot of it's like, this is fun and campy, and that was one where I'm like, please let it end. I'm dying in real life. I don't want to watch this.
I really liked... The components that I liked of the film is that I thought some of the acting was actually quite good. Like, I didn't think... There were some bits where, like, it is a comedy. So a lot of the performances are like they're told to go over the top. And like some of the deliveries were quite good. Like I thought the girl that played Cassie and the guy that played Alex were really interesting actors because they felt quite believable.
I thought they were good.
Yeah, I thought the guy that played Alex was excellent, to be honest. Like I found him quite
Alex
funny.
being the best friend.
Yeah. And in his death scene, the reason that I realized I was like, oh, I'm kind of having a good time with this film is that in the scene where he died, I was a little bit upset. I was like, I liked this guy. I didn't want him to die. And the fact that he got to the library and found out that the disease was caused, like the disease was like a skin infection. And when his friend is like, oh my God, he's like, don't touch me, dude. It's a skin infection as he's dying. I'm like, this guy figured out what the disease was and he's saving his friend as he's dying. I like this character. And he seems so effortless in his achievements in this film. Like it sounds like a dumb small thing, but watching a character be smart, find a book and find out what the infection is, I'm like, wow, this is a step above so many other films that we've done on this list because this character has been smart and has been funny and has been really fun to watch.
He's also like such an honest portrayal of like a skeevy teen boy. Like at one point he gets a blowjob in the bathroom, a not great blowjob in the bathroom from a woman who is not interested in him and more interested in revenge against someone else. And he's just like so much exactly like a teenage boy that I was like, no, this is good. This is fun. It's like unceremonious.
And I liked Cassie because Cassie was like an actual teenage girl. Like, and she had this like, she didn't talk very normally. She had a slight lisp. She sounded like a real person mumbling and lisping a little bit. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I liked Cassie. I liked Alex. And I liked the scene where, well, the main character is in love with Cassie and always has been, but she's dating a total jerk. And there's a scene where he gets really upset at Cassie because he gets into a fight at the prom with the guy that she went to prom with.
His nerd rage?
Yeah, he has like this big incel rage at her, which again, super tongue-in-cheek. It's not a romantic scene. And I feel like the writers were like, let's put in like a fucking heinous incel rage at him. Like, let's say all the shit that he shouldn't say. Because this film is bizarre. This film does that.
Because when watching it, that was the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, the rest of the film is tongue-in-cheek, but this gave me like, man, this writer is not over being a teenager and he thinks he was right the whole time because it was just such a like classic nerd rage thing where I'm like, you need to get over your issues with women. I really hated that scene. Because
I thought this is tongue-in-cheek. Because a romantic scene, he would be like, are you crazy? Like, I've loved you this whole time. But he's literally getting like almost violently angry at her and swearing at her and using slurs. And I'm like, it can't be serious. Like, this has to be a joke. That was my interpretation, at least.
I'll join you in a hope that it's like that. Because that would be better.
I just thought that this film was too good at making fun of stupid men and creepy boys to be able to actually do that, to suddenly turn around and not understand what it was doing.
Maybe I was just already against the lead character because he looks like he's the front man of the most mediocre cover band for Interpol. Big Dane Cook guy. You know, he's just the worst. I hate him. I hated his faux hawk. I hated the fact that he looked like he was 30. His energy throughout the whole thing is too angry to be sympathetic and not angry enough to be... I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't get what his deal was. I'm like, are you a punk? Are you a nerd? Are you a loser? Are you a dropout? What's your fucking deal, man? You have no definable traits.
Sorry, wait. Are we talking about Interpol still, or are we talking about the main character?
No, I get Interpol. Interpol, I totally get. I'm talking about...
I was about to say, like, Michelle, I pride myself on having almost no opinions on Interpol. And this is a really long rant about... the lead singer of Interpol.
I get. They're like the least interesting of a sextuplet of bands that were all interesting in the early 2000s, right? Like, I get their deal. I don't get John's deal. I get everyone around him. I'm just going to move past it.
Sorry, a bit came out.
Oh, come on.
It was just a little bit. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, like everyone, Alex, I'm like, I immediately get your deal. You're like a loser, but you're not nerdy enough to be with the nerds. And then there's like the two guys who are like, we're going to watch these cool horror movies instead of go to prom. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Your whole thing is just that no one likes you, right?
Yeah.
John is like, I'm above that, but he doesn't have his own shtick.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't know where he's meant to fall. And look, like there's a lot of kids in high school that don't fall into a clique or don't have a shtick, but I think this is more ruled down to just bad bad screenwriting. Also, John is a really odd name for a teenager in the 2000s. I've never met a kid our age called John. And we were in high school at this time. We were in high school in 2009. We weren't graduating, but we were there. No one was called John. No one was called John.
I feel like I definitely knew a Johnny or a John who went by Jack.
I knew a Johnny in primary school, but everyone called him Johnny. I don't think he ever grew up to be a John. You know?
No,
he was Johnny.
You don't call an 8-year-old John.
Hey, John. So why were they calling this like 16-year-old? It's bizarre to me.
Who knows?
But also, I will say about the friend Alex as well. Alex is a great study in that confidence can get you fucking everywhere, because he's meant to be this like chubby, like dorky kind of friend of his where like he can't get laid, but he wants to get laid. But literally he just sidles in every scene with so much confidence that he's attractive to women in his own way. Like that's, if you, you know what? I'm putting this film forward as a case study in how confidence does generate attraction. All right.
This film
Alex,
is the one.
Character.
Hey, listeners, if you're like, man, I never know how to get the girl. I never know how to seem like I belong in public. Take a tip from Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever, and just be confident.
Just be confident, man. Even in death. Be confident like he was. He was ready to fucking embrace death. Also, these kids, what I liked about this film is that like it was really like campy in genre and again tongue in cheek. So when there was like really heavy shit going down, it wasn't about the tragedy and horror of what they're viewing. It's them being like, oh my God, what are we gonna do to get out of here and survive? And so there's no like emotional element to it. So there's literally a scene where the main character reads in the book that Alex got for him that he can survive by amputating his arm. And he amputates his arm by slicing it through like one of the metalwork slices with like Cassie holding his wrist down. And that sounds harrowing, but it was really fun. Like it was really fun. It's really pulpy and like blood flew everywhere, but they're like, and they do it. And then she's fucking like, what do you call it? She what's the term for it?
Cauterizes. She cauterizes the wound
she
with a blowtorch.
Yeah. And it's like, this is really gory, grimy shit. But because it's done in such a campy, fun way, it was like a weird joy to watch. I was like, this is great. The protagonist is cutting his arm off.
Yeah, it's kind of Grindhouse B-movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, reading about it in advance, because I had to so that I could get the movie for us and prep us and stuff. Hearing about some of the things that are in it sound a lot more terrifying than actually watching it on screen, because on screen I'm like, oh, this is silly. Like there was a lot of people online who mentioned like, oh, there's one point where some blood comes out of a guy's penis at one point, Alex's penis, and like when you see it's not as gross. Like you kind of go, ugh. But I'm like, I've seen porn. I know what something coming out of a dick looks like. It's fine. It's
so weird. I just realized, you're right, like we literally saw a full fucking dick with blood coming out of it, and for some reason I didn't flinch at all. Yeah. I wasn't like, oh my God, it's a penis. I was like, oh shit, blood's coming out of that.
That is your normal reaction to penises though.
That's what Claude gets every day of his life. I'm like, what is that?
Oh my God, that's a penis.
Oh my God, what do you do with that thing? That's crazy. I don't like it. Put it away.
Like a little kid who discovers that people have different bodies. Oh my God, what is that? Is that a penis?
That's not like mine.
How do you get around with that thing?
But holy shit, like I feel like I watched it and it like completely went over my head. I was just like, yep, that's a dick with blood coming out of it.
Yeah, a lot of the and
makes
like
sense.
The lead up to the hand coming off, like you were saying, I was like, this is gonna be, and then you watch it and you're like, it's fine. It's fine. The like terror the description generates in your brain is worse than actually watching it, where I'm like, it's just buckets of red.
For sure. I feel like every time I do any research about a film, if I read it, for instance, if I like do research on a film and I'm like, oh my God, there's like a sexual assault scene or like a rape scene or something that looks really uncomfortable. If it's done well, I get to the movie and I'm like, that was fine.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't harrowing. That was good. Like, you know my whole rant on not having to be fucking traumatized when watching TV. Like you can still explore a concept without having to traumatize the viewers. Again, this film casually delighted me.
I get what you mean. And there's lots of little fun things like Winston's whole arc, right? After he finally puts the pieces together, he goes to like a diner and he gets pancakes, which I thought was a fun choice from one of the most famous bits in the first one. There's a couple of things like that.
Look, can we just describe that scene for the listeners?
Oh,
because
yes, of course.
Maybe some people, luckily, haven't seen Cabin Fever 1. There's a scene apropos of nothing where the main character...
No, not the main character.
Michelle.
One of the main character's close friends, who at this point is already getting sweaty and already getting sick. He's like the comic relief character, though, but he's been the most like, we got to quarantine ourselves. Goes to the town to get help. He returns to the general store where there is a guy who looks like he's played by Elliott Smith. And there is a little blonde kid who looks like he time warped from 1972 to right now, who was just sitting on the thing. He talks to the grown man. The man goes inside, and then they drifts over to the little boy, who then goes, pancakes, pancakes, in this strange close-up, and then screams, pancakes! And it cuts back to the guy who mugs the camera. And then as it cuts back to the boy, it's a wide shot where he, in slow-mo, jumps towards him and starts doing like bad karate, bad martial arts, and like just flailing his limbs around. And then he's like, no! And then he yells pancakes again and then bites into his hand and then immediately goes, as if he's just become aware of what he's doing. And then Elliott Smith runs up and pulls him off and is like, God damn, what you do? And like tells him to fuck off. And like, that's the scene. That's the scene.
I think we owe it to our listeners to post that scene on Twitter because it's just too good not to post.
I think we make that promise.
We've made that promise. We're sticking to it. But that scene was, I remember watching Cabin Fever 1, still not understanding fully that it was a horror comedy because it wasn't funny enough. And I was like, this is just absurd. Like, it's not even this funny scene that makes sense. Like, the thing about comedy is that you have to let the viewer know it's a joke. And I spent the entirety of most of Cabin Fever being like, is this a joke? Is it? I don't know, because it was tonally so off. And I remember in that pancake scene, I mean, it's not just the hair that made it memorable, although the hair really does stick in your brain. I was like, I don't know what to make of this. Like, I'm surprised I didn't just turn the movie off at that point. But I gotta say, that little fucking blonde hair with the fringe that he's got going on, total like 80s glam band vibes going on. Like, it's like, he's like Cherie Curry without the feathering and layering.
Like Mark Hamill, but longer, like a real 70s.
Yeah, it's a real look. His haircut is what I had when I was also like 7 years old.
Fucking Bjorn from ABBA. Right? That
yes.
look. That's what it is.
Bjorn and Anna all in one.
That's true. And he also delivers the line like he's never acted before, which he probably hasn't.
He hasn't. He's a random kid, and they're like, you know what? Shout whatever you want, and then fucking karate chop the shit out of the main character. Kick him, fly kick him, whatever you want. You go nuts,
what happened is he just did it. I can't remember. Anyway, so like Giuseppe Andrews, the cop Winston, his arc in the thing was like fun comic relief to keep cutting back to. He gets pancakes and then he's like, oh shit, I gotta work this out. And then he goes and he stumbles across like Judah Friedlander, who I thought was both a surprise and not a surprise to see.
Yeah, look, every time I see Judah Friedlander, it is a disappointment on my end, at least. I'm like, oh, here you go. I'm just going to have to watch 5 minutes of you not being funny again after watching 7 seasons of 30 Rock.
I just can't believe that, like, the exact peak of his comedy career was the moment that he got to negotiate the terms of his 30 Rock contract, right? And say that he is in the opening credits.
Absolutely got to be in the opening credits.
But the other writers, the other cast members of the show are not. Like, even though they're the same status as him within the show.
God, your random hats, Judah Friedlander.
Judah Friedlander.
If you're listening right now, which we know you are,
noted
I just
fan.
want you to know that your random little caps that just have a random word on them have never been funny, are not funny, will never be funny in the future. Just give them up. Like, I hated it. I never understood it as a joke. It would just say things like pizza or like not on, like just random fucking shit.
I think
it doesn't make
would
sense.
be funnier if it was a cartoon, because then it's like it feels more like a fun background gag, but they feel too in your face for a real person. Anyway,
I think it'd be funnier if it just said pancakes on it, because there's this really funny scene actually in this film.
Oh yeah. Please tell
where this kid just like randomly. Okay, so what happens is that I'm pretty sure it's actually the main character rocks up
Don't do this. The scene where Judah Friedlander is there.
I literally just read this, by the way, just really quickly. The Pancakes scene in Cabin Fever 1 was made up during filming after Eli Roth saw Matthew Helms, the kid, practicing Taekwondo during a break. He discovered that Helms was a real-life black belt, so he decided to add the scene to give a chance for Helms to show what he could do. Showing off someone else's fucking Taekwondo chops is not a reason to include a scene in a film.
It
Just
also
saying that as a screenwriter
is, if it's meant to represent that he has a black belt in Taekwondo, he looks like he's never moved his body before. It doesn't look like skilled martial arts.
I don't understand. I remember reading that Cabin Fever people thought it was like kind of funny and clever, and I just
Peter
don't
Jackson
get it.
made everyone on set watch it. On the Lord of the Rings set, watch it. Quentin Tarantino called him the future of horror. Guess he was wrong about that one.
Yeah, I guess he was, because what's Eli Roth done recently?
What has
Get
he
a
done?
divorce?
Hey,
probably.
Nice. I mean, he's allowed to get a divorce. You don't have to stay married to your partner.
Yeah, you do. I'm getting married this year.
No,
and
you have to
divorce
stay
is not
married
on
to
the
your
table.
partner.
Yeah, I do.
It's actually part of the podcast contract. So yeah, the Judah Friedlander scene, I particularly loved it because he comes in and he's like, "Come on, man, you gotta fucking listen," and then he's like, "Oh yeah, you want a beer?" And I love he just goes out of nowhere. Ooh, daddy. Got another fucking beer, man?
The officer is really funny. He's like, come on, man.
Funny.
We got to get out of this town. It's all going to pieces, man. Let's just get on the road. He's just such an odd character. And I'm like, I don't care that this is hammy. It's fucking funny. It's alleviating the entire film.
Yeah, hey, Giuseppe Andrews, if you ever hear this, big fan, love your work in this. Good job.
We love you, Giuseppe. You're the opposite of Eli Roth. You're all good vibes, positive vibes from you.
Easily the best part of Cabin Fever 1 as well, so.
Was he in Cabin Fever 1?
Yeah. He was
I didn't remember.
the same character in Cabin Fever 1.
Oh my God. I thought they just busted out this new character for Cabin Fever 2. I totally forgot him in Cabin Fever 1. It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's been a
okay.
while.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you ever stop and you get really upset because you're like,
Yeah.
I've watched this movie, but yeah, I stop and get upset all the time. You've watched this movie, but you actually just don't remember that much about it. It's not even that much time has elapsed. I feel like I watched a movie last year and I can't remember a lot of it. I showed Claude Succession and I literally watched Succession season 1 and 2 last year. And when we were going through season 2, Claude was like, man, it feels like you haven't seen this before. You can't remember a lot of it. And I was like, I guess I can't remember a lot of it. And I was like, it feels annoying because I'm consuming this media because I want to hang on to it and know it and return back to it and have it as something that I can refer to. But it seems like a lot of it just flutters out of my head anyway. And then sometimes I stop and I'm like, well, what's the point of consuming media if none of it's going to stick?
I feel like, though, there is a distinction between the, ability to recall the specific events and ingesting, internalizing, and understanding the themes and thoughts, what you come away from watching something that's good. That'll stick with you even if you don't remember the specific sequence of events in the show that led up to it,
That's true. And even though I can't remember certain bits of it, I can remember certain things about it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that film about these people that do that. I can remember it because I can remember the general gist because I've seen it. But when people are like, oh, you remember that scene, where I'm like, no, I don't. I don't remember that scene. I don't remember that actor. I don't remember that sequence.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was directed by. Don't ask me questions that I can't answer. Maybe it's just the drags that have eradicated my brain, but I think I've always been this forgetful, to be honest.
I think you have as well, so I don't think it's just the drags.
Wow.
Oh, don't worry, you won't remember that I've said this next week.
That's true. I'm upset now, but wait, what are we talking about?
We're about to talk about some trivia.
I'm just goofing. Oh, trivia. We're just goofing here. I remember what you said.
IMDb trivia.
So I wanted to start first with just one piece of trivia of Cabin Fever 1 that I saw, and I'm like, I have to bring this up. The auditions for the lead female character, Marcy, had been scheduled to take place on September 11, 2001.
Oh, that's a memorable date. Was it in New York at the time?
Yep.
Were they auditioning?
Yep.
Oh, what time? What time of day?
After.
Oh, no.
There was then citation needed of the story of Eli Roth trying to cancel the auditions, but too many of the women showed up. And I'm like, I don't know whether that's true, but that's a weird thing to add.
That's wild. Yeah, I think trying to get in touch with someone on the day of 9/11 would be really difficult.
Yeah.
People are preoccupied with a certain event.
Yeah, so one of the things I thought was interesting that I wanted to save until the trivia is that this was a film that was apparently extensively recut by the studio, allegedly also reshot a lot, but the primary things are in the reshoots were that end sequence of the strip club. That was a new addition. Because of the extensive re-editing and reshooting by the producers, director Ty West requested to have his name removed from the film and replaced with the popular pseudonym Alan Smithy.
Okay, wait. This is not the first time we've come across a director
Yes.
doing that, where
Yeah.
the producers have completely massacred the film that they wanted, so that they get a stage name essentially to attach to the film, and they completely disassociate from it.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Alan Smithy is a Directors Guild of America thing where you can say like, oh, this person is the director, but it's a fake person. No one directed it. He was denied the request to do so. But I've got some quotes from interviews with him and the producers, because it gets more complicated, because that just sounds like, oh, it was a good film, and then the producers meddled. So here's the quote from Ty West. I very much wanted the Alan Smithy credit. That would have been a silver lining to me. I would have been more than happy to have promoted the film if I had had Alan Smithy on it. They said, no, I'm not DGA, so I couldn't do it. And the DGA doesn't do Alan Smithy anymore. Anyway, so it was a bummer situation with that. I really do not feel like it's my film. This was a film that was really made by a bunch of other people on that production, and it's unfortunate. We cut the movie together. Everyone was like, this is going to be great. Then there was this, oh, it should be different. Like all the greatness of the past 6 months had never happened. They were like, this is the direction we're going with. Come with us. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And then said, then you should do it by yourself. I knew there was no collaboration at that point. So he was offered the chance to go to continue editing with them. This isn't, they did it behind his back. They fully were like, yeah, we think you'll want to do this. And he was like, that's not my vision. And also, by the way, it struck me, like the first point where I started actually turning back against Ty West was when he was like, and I'm not ADG. And I'm like, you've directed movies before. I want to know your reason for not being in your union, because I know that there's a whole circle around Tarantino that are not super pro-union, and that bums me the fuck out.
Interesting.
Because
why are they not pro-union? Do you know anything about that?
Tarantino once said that
Michelle
he doesn't
just flashed really wide eyes at me.
Tarantino once said that he doesn't like using union crews so that people aren't on set worried about pay and like being against each other. You know, they're all just all on the same team. To which I'd say that being in a union would make them on the same team. That's kind of the definition.
Fucking wild.
Yeah.
I feel like the annoying thing is like he's Quentin Tarantino, so like he can just get whoever he wants to work on his set without necessarily paying them the right rates, because he's Quentin fucking Tarantino and everyone's dying to work with him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he like constantly underpays his staff, but I feel like for those like really like middling people that work in a crew, like runners, they're probably not paid well. Anyway, that's a whole different thing.
So now here was one of the interesting things. Mose, one of the lead sort of producer, she said, I know all the different cuts. Except for the tag ending, this film is probably 90% West's cut. It's got the wipes in there. It's got the animation in there that he wanted, which, by the way, the animated opening we didn't talk about and was actually really fun. It's got the 80s references, the Ramones for the songs. I worked very hard to maintain the vision he saw and maintained what he wanted when he wasn't around. She re-edited Spring Fever to punch up its outrageous John Waters-esque moments involving severed limbs, oozing penises, and odd sexual couplings. West's not a comedy director, so that's why she enlisted the help of Janice Hampton, the editor of Waters comedies such as Hairspray and Serial Mum.
No way.
Yeah. Some of the cast also said that they were baffled by West's rejection of the film and described it as pretty fucking funny and awesome. So, what sounds like studio interference was a lot more Ty West being like, this isn't my vision, thus I want to stand away. And like the idea of him doing the Alan Smithy thing sounds less desperate and more like, this is what we do in film, ha ha ha. You know, like, it sounds like everyone else is like, this is his film.
Yeah. It's odd that he's trying to separate himself from something that was very much maintained in his own vision. I'd be interested to know why. But like, I don't know why, because like, I think this film isn't great, obviously. It's on this list for a reason in that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of other things that we've watched because there was a lot of enjoyable moments, but the tone is still weird. There's a lot of bad jokes. There's a lot of like graphic gore for no reason. Like, and it's not an original premise at all.
No.
But it's not as bad as other things we've watched. So it's like, I still feel like doing the sequel to Eli Roth's Cabin Fever is still probably a really good credit to have.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Well,
know
he
what's
still has
going
it.
on.
You know, he got denied
Yeah.
because he's not a member of his union. So he doesn't
Poor
get perks.
hunky Eurasian Ty West.
Our visions of Ty West would be in their union.
Yeah.
One last piece of trivia. Ryder Strong, who played the lead character in the original, receives top billing in the film despite appearing for less than a minute of screen time, which I thought was actually just a
What?
fun gag in the film. Is like,
Yeah.
Ryder Strong is coming back, and then he just gets obliterated. That's fun.
That's true. I did like that. I liked that at the beginning of the film, Ryder Strong's character Paul like resurfaces out of the creek that he's like left in, and he
Yeah.
crawls his way back onto a highway, and that's when he's hit by the school bus in that first scene. But like when he resurfaces out of the lake, I mean, your mind naturally goes back to the infamous scene at the end of Friday the 13th 1 where Jason Voorhees like launches out of the lake, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna come back as a killer for the next one. But like in this one, he launches out the lake and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? He's killed by a bus. I liked
Yeah.
that. I was like, I didn't expect that at all. I didn't think he was like this massive, like, I thought he was going to be the villain of the piece, and him getting eradicated in like the first second. I was like, that's good.
It's
That's
fun. Do you want to hear
There's
some
lots of fun
reviews?
things. Yes, I want to hear some reviews.
So this has 4.3 on IMDb and 16% on Rotten Tomatoes. But here is an IMDb review called Favorite Film by Marissa Kolayani. Just another person who's it's just their full name. Cabin Fever is my all-time favorite horror movie. It's the kind of movie that's just sick, and I completely love it. I've seen it more than 10 times, and I enjoy it every time. This flesh-eating virus is so much different than any others. The way they fall apart is spectacular. I'm hoping for more Cabin Fevers. Eli Roth is amazing. Hope to see more, and this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love how twisted this film is. It would make a person feel sick, but that's the type of horror that I like. Something so good and intense that most people have to close their eyes. Very good film. All of the Cabin Fevers are written by Eli. That's not true. Are very well made. 10 out of 10.
I love a review that drops false information for me. It's like a red herring. I love having to investigate myself afterwards.
I have two more reviews. Here is a longer one, and I just got it because it is really something. So bear with me. This is
I'm
a
ready.
title called Crazy, Gross, Disgusting Fun, ... by Troy H. King. Man, if I can go off King. I also want it known every time I'm giving a pause, like for the end of a sentence, it is actually space, comma, ... Don't know why.
Space, comma,
Every single...
Oh, what the fuck?
Every single sentence ends like
They
that.
call them ellipses, for sure.
Calypso.
You've never heard of a cumlipses?
Oh, yeah, no,
Someone
yeah.
didn't graduate English in the HSC.
Oh, I've heard of a cumlipses. Hey. Hey.
Why make
Hey.
it sexual, man? Why make it sexual?
I didn't.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Your mind did, you fucking dirty. Okay, this is crazy, gross, disgusting fun. All right. I have actually just saw Cabin Fever 2. And guess what? Not so bad. Of course, so again, all of these pauses, comma, ... Of course, if you're coming into this thinking it's going to be more of a film than the last, you're going to be wrong. I didn't think the first CB was all that great, because really, did Eli Roth do something that just cannot be duplicated? I didn't think so. In fact, this film is better because it just goes all the way and makes no apologies for what it is. With animation that should just not work. Yes, I said animation. When I was told the ending was animated, I have to admit, I thought someone was pulling my leg, but it's there and it does its work in its quirky way. It also helps that it has a pretty darn good soundtrack to go along with it. But what this movie is about is the grosses of beep that one could or could never think of happening. Happens. I mean, if you were a film... filmmaker...
Wait. What's the censored bit?
Who knows?
Did they just literally write beep?
Yeah, they wrote beep in italics.
Okay.
I mean, if you were a filmmaker that was thinking of a way to top the shaving scene of the first movie, and you started drinking and kept thinking of things and writing them down until you were drunk and didn't stop writing until you passed out, this is what you get. It's about the bad old water supply that was hinted to in the last Cabin Fever at the end, and what happens if it was delivered to the local townfolk, specifically bottled water, making its way to the local high school, but all hell breaks loose everywhere because everyone in town drinks the bottled water. That's it. No more, no less. Very graphic and very nasty, which is not a bad thing. So, I mean, there's a lot more.
There's a lot more.
It's exactly what you want in this kind of movie. But I will warn you, if you hate seeing bloody urine in a high school punch bowl, self-mutilated hands by way of chop saw, puking penises, read that last one again. Oh yeah, that's right. Very, very fat chicks that get naked. Messing around in the school pool only to start bleeding from the holiest of holes. Turning the whole pool red, and at the same time, their teeth start falling out while they drown. Still, other chicks accept hotter this time, giving what they can, with blisters on their tongues. Well, come on, you can't just hate it. Can we? There are a lot of folks that like this stuff. I'm one of them, and it's a fun film. I dug it, so keep a lookout. Hope this is at least a look at what you're going to get it, and it helped. Take care. I'll see you at the movies. Save the handicap seats for me. 10 out of 10.
Save the handicap seats for me.
But that was in quotes, by the way.
Definitely my favorite sign off to any review ever. Also, the holiest of holes is I'm never going to refer to my vagina as anything else.
That was the moment that I was like, I don't care how long this is, I'm putting it in the episode.
I have to say, as someone that is currently bleeding out of their holiest of holes, when people feel like, in the review, they were like, oh, if you can stomach watching like penises ooze blood. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's just like totally half the planet are not used to blood oozing out of their genitals like all the time. All the time.
That's a common thing.
I'm like, that's not graphic. That's fucking normal, man. I'm not going to get into it again. That was a real piece of work. And yeah, we'll see you at the handicap seats. Yeah. Well, not in the handicap. We'll be near the handicap. See ya. Bye.
Yeah, we're not going to be in them. I can't wait to see why Troy is.
We're not going to take up that space.
And I want to end on this last review. Awesome by Andrew Fionda. A lot of the reviews, just people's full names. Classic movie, classic. Movie, classic. Movie. Classic movie, classic movie. Classic movie. 10 out of 10.
Did Nim the chimp sign that?
Yeah, it was a full sentence. He's doing great.
I don't think this experiment is working. That's beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I don't know how else to express it, but it's now your turn to try. Abby, what was your review?
Well, this is what I think. I think not classic movie, classic not classic, not classic movie, not movie, not classic movie, not. But fun movie, fun movie, fun, good time, classic, not classic, but good fun time for movie, fun. Yeah, I had a good time with it. I'm going to give it
It's a classic double dodeca negative.
You know what? I just think that like if I gave fucking College Road Trip a very generous 4.2 out of 10, this film, like, genuinely, there's bits of it that I will remember. Like, I thought some of the cast was quite good. I thought some jokes were fun. I liked how, like, campy and silly it was. So I'm going to give this bad boy, like, I would watch this 100% again instead of a good year. And if good year is our 5, this bad boy is getting like a 5.5 out of 10 for me.
5.5?
And I didn't think I would say that. I went into this film being like, oh my God, here we go. Remembering how much I hated Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
I was shocked and delighted.
I'm shocked and delighted. Wow, 5.5. Look,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be quite as generous just to spoilers, but like I know exactly what you mean. There were a lot of parts that I enjoyed it way more than I was expecting. Certainly the fact that I had just watched Cabin Fever whilst almost feeling like I was going to pass out because I was sweating so much and just staring at pictures of baby poo. I wasn't even doing work. That was just a hobby.
No, I've seen your phone, Michelle. I know what's there.
It was such a
Your
relief.
searches are all poo, baby poo, poo, baby,
Poo,
baby, poo, poo.
Yeah,
poo? Question mark.
Well, Andrew Fionda took my phone at one point. But I think for me, it's like 90 minutes long. The first 60, I would agree with you, is a 5.5. The last 30 minutes really put me off. It turned into kind of a slog for me, and I really didn't like the end portion of it. I also think part of that is like to treat it as a critic would. I think the fundamental problem with both this and Cabin Fever 1 is because it's about a sickness, the premise of the movie is we kind of know immediately that they're all sick, so every tactic they do doesn't work. And then, you know, like even with John and Cassie, like, yeah, maybe the amputation worked, but then he gets got anyway. And like, he doesn't even save Cassie because then Cassie's sick. And I'm like, well, what was, I don't know, like.
That's very true. Like, it's good to watch people be good at things.
Yeah.
But again, I think you're thinking of like a normal film, but my fucking grading scale is completely slanted towards toleration, not perfection. So
I think I have to dock points because of my thing of how much of a movie is it. I think people come to movies for different things, and there's a lot of not a movie to come and enjoy. Rating it as a movie, I think I would give it a 3.8, which I think for this list is generous, with the caveat that I think it's fun, and I had more fun watching it than some of the 4s I've given. You know?
that's a good rating. That's a good rating.
Well, that was Cabin Fever 2. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod. You can find us on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. I love reading the emails, so please do.
Please do. Please email us, even if it's just to you know, just like, I don't know, tell us what's on your mind. What have you been up to? Like, we haven't heard from you in ages. We're actually worried about you. I mean, there's a fucking pandemic on. Are you safe? Just let us know.
Are you safe? Are you okay?
From your
Also,
concerned mothers.
if you tweet, I'll tweet back. You can go like, I had this thought. I'll be like, haha, that's fun and interesting. You know?
But I'll stand there behind Michelle waggling my fingers, being like, no, it's not. Because you need to be humbled.
Sure.
Also, don't forget to follow us on our personal accounts. I'm on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at michelle.stclair.
And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It genuinely makes a lot of difference, not even just on Apple Podcasts, on anything that you listen to us on. If there's a review option, leave us a review.
Spotify just added the ability to review podcasts. So our
my
Spotify
God,
listeners,
guys.
please, if you could review us, that would be really, really great.
Please. That'd be amazing. If that's a new function, jump on our little potty, because we know that you do, and leave us a little review. But all the reviews have to be like, Abigail was so sexy. If anything, she's getting sexier.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know.
Make
Just, like,
all of
leave
the
me a
reviews on
review on my
Spotify
sexiness.
just about Abby, and all the Apple Podcast ones just about me, and I will set up a premise that is fundamentally going to work against me. It's going to be great.
Or you could do the Apple ones about me as well. I don't know. Like, it's up to you. Like, I'm not.
Can I have
like,
some
pushing it.
reviews?
Whatever you want. I don't know. Are you worth reviewing, Michelle? Prove it.
I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, what are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching The Comebacks.
Nice. I'm pretty sure that
Don't know
has
what that is.
David Kuchner. I think it was also known as Sports Movie. I don't know. It's your episode, so you can tell me, is this one of the movies that has an alternate title, or is this its own thing? But sports. Love them.
Oh, get keen for it, guys.
Get
And
keen.
Start training.
No, I mean, I am keen. It's going to be sports. Get him in the
Sports.
field. Throw that ball and catch it.
Sport!